Minnie Driver, speech just got picked up for season 3. I think in the past 24 hours. Just what are your? How are you feeling about you coming back for another year?
Oh my God, I'm really, first and foremost, I'm incredibly happy. But second and almost as foremost, I'm already tired because I know the kind of hours we put in on the show. You know, I don't know, man. I'm very well compensated, but they're like 65-hour weeks. Like it's proper, like junior doctor style. And while I'm not saving lives, you know, they're really long days. And I'm now, you know, we start in August and we finish in March. And it's pretty full on. So I'm a bit nervous, but feeling good that we get to keep telling this particular family story, which is cool.
Yeah, and what are you most excited about for the prospect of a third season?
More music being incorporated into the show. We did this musical teaser to one of the episodes that, with full like dancing choreography, it was my favorite thing that I've done on television to date. And they promised me, because it did really well, they promised me that we could do a musical episode if we got picked up for a third season. So I'm going to have that written into my contract. I mean, probably not literally, but.
Yeah. And what about the that musical element did you enjoy the most, having done the past year?
I think it's a completely different part of your brain. Like that whole musical thing when you're singing to playback and you're dancing, it requires a really focused energy and it's very hard. And I don't know, I'm like 28 years into my career now. It feels like you want things that challenge you. I mean, I don't want my job to be the equivalent of sitting on the sofa. Like I'll sit on the sofa to get that.
And with season 2 this past year, what was the thing that you enjoyed the most about coming into work on Speechless each day?
Well, I'll tell you what. So whenever, because it does happen when you work that many hours and that long with all the same people, and there are days where you feel a bit gripey. Whenever I'd feel that way, I'd look at Micah, who plays my son JJ, and he has cerebral palsy, and I'd see this young guy just smiling and being in a place of like supreme patience and gratitude and good humor. And it was a fantastic wake-up call to really genuinely be grateful in the face of your complaining, and you're going to feel a whole lot better about everything. And it was, I think, getting to know him better, getting to know everybody better, and the machine being a slightly better oiled machine. I think that's what I really enjoyed. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I guess with how the show, with the character of JJ and its depiction of cerebral palsy, what is something that you have taken away or learnt from having worked on the show?
That, you know, diversity looks different. Like there are all kinds of diversity. And when we're talking about that and thinking it's a trigger word in our society right now, I think we need to start really including people living with disabilities within that umbrella, and it not be, it's very much in gender and ethnicity has been the main focus of diversity. I would really like to see people living with disabilities like included into that. And I'm really hoping we can sort of further that conversation.
Yeah, because like in one sense, JJ is representative of people with cerebral palsy, but in another sense, he can only represent one person with cerebral palsy because everyone has a different story. Everyone, there's spectrums, there's all these sorts of things. So I guess the more representation we have, the more different stories we can tell.
That's exactly right. And I feel like there need to be acting programs that will accommodate people with disabilities. I mean, a lot of the time it's difficult to find actors with disabilities who have training and experience because they've never been able to find any of that. So I'd like to see that change. I'd like to see there being more actors with disabilities in the workplace, because they've had the same training that I was afforded, that loads of people, they've been able to go to the classes, take the classes, study their craft, because I don't think it's always available or easy for them to join in.
Yeah. I think, what have you learnt about yourself from performing the character of Maya in the show?
What have I learnt from Maya? That sometimes you need half the energy to get twice the amount done. Sometimes you don't need to scream and shout quite so loud. She always learns by screaming and shouting, and then realizes that it doesn't take that much screaming. But I've learned about patience playing her, and what it really means to be a mother who has 3 children and no money and a child with disability. I mean, what that actually looks like, not necessarily maybe from playing Maya, but from certainly talking to all the women that I've met as a result of doing the show who do live with children with disabilities and other children who are able-bodied, and how bloody hard that is.
How are you most like her, and how are you most different from her as a person?
You know, we're both devoted mothers. You know, we're both devoted mothers. It's funny, the things that you think would bother a person don't bother Maya. She kind of bulldozes through, and I'm not like that. Like, I get stuck on the minutiae. So I really like how she sees life in a really macro sense. And if she's got to get from A to Z, she doesn't matter how many barricades she's got to bust through. I'm a bit warier.
Yeah. And what on the show of the 2 seasons have you found the biggest challenge as an actress?
You know, I mean, honestly, as an actress coming, if you think about a show that's on cable, for example, I was just hanging out with that awesome actor, David. I can't remember his last name. He's on Stranger Things. He plays the sheriff. He's just magnificent.
David Harbour.
Oh, he's so cool. So I was just hanging out with him at this photo shoot, and he, you know, he's telling me that they do, and he didn't need to tell me because I could remember, but he was like, yeah, he was like, how many episodes are you doing? And I'm like, 22. And he's like, Jesus. I was like, why? How many do you do on Stranger Things? And he's like, 8. And I mean, like, almost burst into tears because I was like, wait, I mean, 8 episodes? Like, it won't even be Christmas by the time we've done 8 episodes. I mean, honestly, it was the sheer amount of because the thing is, I know that acting, look, you can't really complain about it. What I complain about is being up and on and looking pretty. If I could just be like looking like a sort of tired older woman and be on TV, then I would be much happier. But I have to, like, you have to be up and you have to look pretty and you have to be all of this all the time. And when you've been working for an 18-hour day, you're not feeling that way in the 18th hour. And and yet you've still got to be funny and on. And it's hard. It's hard to do that for, you know, 8 or 9 straight months. You know, you're not really allowed to have any lulls. You've got to be bang on all the time. And for me, that's hard because, like any human being, sometimes you just want to go, stuff it. I'm not going out. I'm just going to sit here and have a glass of wine. And that's just not an option when you're a working actor. But, you know, the upside of that is that you're a working actor. I get to do what I love. So just take a deep breath and get on with it.
Yeah, it's funny because 22 episodes, I guess, used to be the norm if you worked in television. Like, all the shows were 22 episodes.
I know,
and now, like, most shows are less.
I know. But also, here's where it gets tricky. Thinking up 8 brilliant episodes of a show is completely and utterly different to figuring out not just 22 storylines. In our show, you have an A, B, and a C storyline. So that's a lot. She said, they've got to, I worry about us being able, any show that is shooting that many episodes being able to sustain people's interest, because it's much easier when it's condensed and it's a smaller amount of time, and they have more time to think about what that's going to look like. And you can really focus on 22 episodes is a lot. I mean, I couldn't believe it that they picked us up for that. It's fantastic. But it's a real vote of confidence from ABC, which is also fantastic, that they think we're, you know, that's them investing in us and going, yeah, we believe you can do this. So that feels pretty cool.
Yeah. Has there been anything in the show to your run where you have had a bit of you haven't believed you could do something that they put in front of you and you were able to do it?
You know, I honestly, with that musical thing, I didn't know how we'd pull it off because there was no rehearsal built into us doing it. We were rehearsing on the night and we shot it one night, and it was a long, bloody Friday night. And I did think, I was sitting in my trailer going, there's no way. Like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to dance and sing with no practice. But we did it. I would have liked some rehearsal. But there are things where you go, this is going to be impossible. And then you go, actually, no, it is possible. And that's always a good lesson when you think you just can't do anything.
Yeah, so you'll need not just that you do a musical episode in your contract for season 3, but that you have rehearsal time in your contract.
I think they all know that. It's like, yeah, we need to have solid rehearsal times before we shoot that. But doing a whole episode, like that's some crazy creativity there. Like it's fascinating to me how it all fits together, and I love the music aspect of it. I really do.
And I guess that must be hard. When you're talking about how, like, with the 22 episodes, it's an 8-month shoot. It's long hours. It's like so exhausting to then go, okay, we're going to do something different for this episode. There's no more time to add to the schedule.
Yeah, exactly. You just, I don't know, it's so funny when I hear you saying that. I totally get why people get irritated with actors complaining about being tired and their hard schedules. When people with real jobs or real jobs out there in the world, it's really hard. I think it's just the sustained, for me, it's a sustained notion. I could do it if I didn't have to look good. I swear to God, if it didn't matter about the bags under my eyes and like feeling knackered and then being a mum when I get home, if none of that, it would be cool. It's just that it's the looking pretty that, you know, you're struck between the vanity of being, you know, a woman on TV and your knackeredness. This is something that you really could not ever understand, Matt, because you're clearly in your 20s and you're a dude.
Well, I won't always be in my time. I'm actually 30, so we actually.
Oh, you?
So, yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to patronise.
No, that's fine. But even if I was in my 20s, I wouldn't always be in my 20s.
It's true.
So, yeah. So also, what's the most fun thing you've done on the show? Maybe other than the musical, because of the music stuff.
I really enjoy kicking a football at Micah. That was really fun. He had to wear a crash helmet and like protective. He's so up for doing stuff. He's so up for doing, like when we go, do you mind if Minnie kicks a football at you? And like repeatedly for hours, and you have to try and stop the ball in your wheelchair. And he was so game, and it was really fun. Because again, what Speechless does is it's very physical comedy, but you'll also probably have dialogue that is in contradiction to what you're physically doing, which is always really funny. So I'm giving him this big pep talk while I'm also trying to annihilate him with a football. And it's also the idea of like Maya's competitiveness at getting the ball in the goal completely supersedes whether she's going to like injure her kid or not. It's funny, like the show is irreverent, and she's, you know, I like the fact that she's pretty awful sometimes. You know, she's not a nice person, Maya. she's funny and she's loud and broad, you know, and passionate and loving, but she's not always nice. And that's, I think it's good to see characters like that. I think it's good, you know, see someone who's a bit of a mess, even though, you know, she's got her hair done.
What's been the funnest thing to shoot? Like what's been the funniest thing that's happened on set, perhaps?
Don't know. I can't answer questions like that because it's not funny. It's long and it's involved, and there isn't like the whole notion of sort of larking about. It doesn't really happen. I mean, maybe John Ross Barry could tell you something like that. But for me, it's like, it's really focused, and it's quite a serious business doing comedy. And particularly when I'm in a lot, you're constantly trying to keep one step ahead. So I'm probably not the funnest person, you know. I won't forget my lines and I'll have your back if you're working with me, but I'm not going to be there, I don't think, cracking jokes and being like, you should have seen what we got up to last night. Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, you got the 22 episodes to get through in the maybe if you had an 8-episode season, you'd have more time for joking around.
I'm guilty about not being at home with my kids. You know, that's the other side of it, is you kind of do that. But it's fun being, you know, I love the people that I work with. I love the writers. I love the actors. And having worked for, like I said, 100 years, I've worked in every different kind of version of people coming together to make a film or television. And these are a particularly special group of people who are nice and they're clever and they're warm and they're funny. And so if you're having a bad day, like, people will prop you up. And if you're having a good day, you know, you can make people laugh at what you do. People appreciate it. But in terms of kind of hijinks, funny stuff, I'm the wrong person.
Yeah, and talking about that career and all the work you've had and your 28 years of work in the career that you talked about before, what is the role outside of Speechless that you're the most proud of?
I liked Dahlia Malloy in the show I make called The Riches for FX. Yeah. That was my favorite character that I've played. You know, she was like a crack addict, gypsy, traveler. That was fierce and really transformative and interesting. I loved that. I loved that character. She was very, very, very far away from who I am. And I think they let me go to the sort of outer limits as an actor, which, you know, I see like actors that I love, like Charlize Theron, for example. That film Tully, like, you look at that woman in Tully and then that woman in Mad Max, you cannot tell me that that's the same person, and yet it is. It's this extraordinarily talented woman. Like, I love that. So it's the things that take me as far away from, you know, Good Will Hunting I loved, but like, that was basically me. That was like me if I'd gone to Harvard. You know, there was not a great stretch for me in there. And I love that film with my dying breath. I love that movie. But as an actor, it's cool to go far away from yourself.
Yeah, and with what did it mean to get that Emmy nomination for The Richies, since that was a role that was so special to you?
Oh, it was amazing. That was absolutely incredible. I'll tell you what, I was also nominated for a Golden Globe, but it was the year they cancelled it. And I was heavily pregnant. And I remember sitting at this barbecue and they sort of had it on in the background, and it was just this woman on like entertainment television. She just had this piece of paper and she was like, and the nominees for Best Actress are Sally Field, Glenn Close, Mariska Hargitay, Minnie Driver. And the winner is Glenn Close. And she just carried on, and there was it was devastating, actually. Because, I don't know, it's not about awards, but you know what? It's really awesome when you are nominated. And the Emmys I've been nominated for 2 Emmys, and it doesn't get old, I'll tell you that much. It's an amazing feeling. It really is.
Yeah, I spoke to a couple of people who won Golden Globes that year, and they just got mailed to them. They just got them in the post.
so devastating. Yeah. I mean, it was really it just shows me, it's like, you know, without the pageantry, You know, if it's just read out on television, that nobody cares. You want the whole deal.
Yeah. And I want to end on this, Minnie. What do you think is special, or the most special thing about Speechless, the show?
Listen, I think that the subject matter and the extraordinary humor around that subject matter is what separates this show out. I mean, when you see disability portrayed in the media, it's usually somebody who's using a wheelchair and like wants to kill themselves if it's a movie, and often would not actually be a disabled actor. It's an after school special, like super over dramatic, melodramatic. It's all tragedy and sadness and how hard. The idea that there is levity and there is life and there is grace and humor, and that it's sharp, weird, funny stuff around this conversation, that makes this show very, very special. And that families, whether you've got a disabled family member or not, looking at this show, it is a representation of a really, you know, not well off working class family who has this massive aspect to their life that they just get on with. You know, plus it's really funny. I mean, first and foremost, it is a bloody funny show. And I wouldn't do it. I mean, I certainly wouldn't do it if it wasn't. So it's nice to be able to, it's nice that it's doing two things.
Well, Minnie, all the best for the Emmys for Speechless. You can repeat some of that Richie's success. And thanks so much for talking with us today, and all the best for season 3. That's so exciting.
Thank you so much. Cheers. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. And I'll press the stop button now.